Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem wa ba'd. Today we're going to look at Surah An-Nisa. And Surah An-Nisa, Nisa means women. It's also a pretty long surah, and it covers the 1.5 juz or para, which is part of juz 4 and whole of 5, and some part of the 6 juz as well. And it has 176 verses. Um, this surah can be called as the surah of women rights. And it talks about what rights Islam has given to women. Western women or Western society today, we consider them to be um, very just in giving lots of rights to women. And they also claim that, and there's a lot of criticism made on Islam, that Islamic society is the society of men. It's a men-based thing. And Western society praises itself for liberating the women and giving lots of rights to women. This, nothing could be further away from the truth than this. Uh, in fact, if you go back and not too far away, not too far back, in before 1960, Western women had no rights in Europe. They had no legal right. They had no right to vote. They had no right to property. They had no right to uh, seek education. They even did not have any rights to inherit property from their parents. And she was not at all an equal citizen. Western women before 1960 were never considered equal citizen to men. And in 1960, women right movement started, but then they went much, much ahead, um, and they uh, gave women just too many rights that didn't even belong to her. And this started violating the rights for men. They started doing zulm on men. Okay. So they were like at one or on the other extreme, on one extreme, and then they went to the other extreme. And now, if you see in Western society, because a lot of zulm was made, a lot of injustice was made to women, then they went totally on the other side. They gave just too many rights, and now they are doing zulm on men. And this is, if you give someone too many rights that actually don't belong to them, you're not only doing zulm on the other gender, you're also doing the zulm on that gender as well. Because then that person or that gender, they start to misuse those rights, and then cause troubles at the social level, uh, at the family level, and everything, every social or family structure starts to break down just because someone has been given more power and more right than they actually deserved. So women after 1960, they before 1960 were too suppressed. They didn't even had their basic rights that they should have enjoyed. And so eventually movements started, and they did not stop at the right point or the sweet spot. They went much, much further ahead. They even started demanding their right for abortion. Okay. Which and abortion is not just a one way, one person decision, because a child is born out of the wedlock. So both both the parents must have a say in there. But they went on demanding abortion right. They should have the right to that they should have the right to decide whether to have a child or not. Islam gave women rights 1450 years ago, all of those rights. And and it's not to say that whatever Western society considers as a as justified rights of women. What we are doing is the problem with us today, the Muslims. We have taken the Western standards and the Western policies as standards for us, and we try to mold and bend Islam to fit Western policies into Islam. And this is very, very wrong, because Western policies and Western rules and Western rights, or whatever the system is, social justice system is, it's based on people's own opinion, and it's based on the votes of the majorities. They don't follow any heavenly guidance. They don't follow any teachings. And if there is a religious group in there, that religious group follows books which have been tempered and modified by people. So today, any rule, any law that is made in the parliament, European or American or Australian or whatever, it's not based on any heavenly guidance. It's based on people's own judgment. It's based on people's own intellect. And because everybody, a human is deficient. A human is intellect is defective. It's not perfect. Allah's knowledge is perfect. A human knowledge is not perfect. Humans' decision making is defective. Humans' knowledge is defective. Humans' thinking process is defective. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the perfect thing. So whatever law, whatever rule, whatever rights Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down, has set aside and established for women in the form of Islam. Islam is the name of the knowledge of Allah. Islam is the name of the policies of Allah, the intellect of Allah, the whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is the creator, Allah knows the best. So whatever rights Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set aside for men, they are the best of the rights. Whatever rights Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established and set aside for women, they are the best and most appropriate for them. There cannot be any better system other than Islam. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought with him, that's the best thing for humanity. And nothing, no other system is better than that or can ever be better than that. And this is one of the key things and key ideas embedded in Khatma Nabuwah. That when we say Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last prophet and there's no new prophet that's going to come after him, we say that whatever system, social systems Rasulullah brought, they're the best. Whatever economic system Rasulullah brought, they're the best. Whatever legal system Rasulullah brought, they're the best. And nothing can be made any better than that, because that's the ultimate uh, for everybody. And now when because we are under the influence, Western influence, and first of all, we don't have any proper knowledge. We don't read, we don't acquire, we don't listen to authentic scholars most of the time. We don't read authentic books, we don't read books at all. So when we are integrating with Western societies, we get we lack knowledge, we lack the belief, the conviction and the faith. We lack the foundational belief that that Islam is the best of all, and there is nothing that can be anything better than that. Because of that, and a tarbiyah is not made, a tazkiyah is not made, our mindset is not corrected, and so we come under the influence, Western influence, and we start getting ashamed of the things because we are not able to justify that. We are not able to satisfy ourselves. We haven't developed a firm foundation, a proper yaqeen in the teachings of Islam, in the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. And when the Westerners, they make propaganda and they make claims about their superiority and how much they are allowing the freedom to women or whatever, then we uh, don't have a proper answer to that, and then we try to fit things and bend things in Islam. That's not the way it should be. But the way to say to counter this is to one thing is correct our own beliefs and strongly and firmly understand that whatever Rasulullah has brought and whatever we learn from authentic sources, from authentic ulama, that's the best system. There couldn't be any better system than that. No matter how much they claim that their research has shown that this and this is better, and Nauzubillah, if they say that the Islamic system is not better and their research says so, their research is wrong. The research of man is always defective. And that's the history. They do research, they produce a theory, they claim something, and then sometime later they reject those things and they make some new theory and then they reject that as well, and then they do. This is how science works because it's defective. It always is attempting to improve itself, to correct itself, and it progresses by negating whatever it has done in the past and building new stuff and new theories and stuff. But the teachings that Rasulullah SAW, the Prophet SAW brought, the teachings that the commands that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has sent down, they are not defective. They are perfect, and they will never change. So you will see that that the um, the standards of morality in Western society they keep on changing, while in Islam it's the same because Western society is based on decides based on a show of hands in the parliament. Whatever the majority vote for, that becomes right, and whatever the majority goes against, that becomes wrong. That's their standards of morality. That's how they decide right and wrong, and that keep on changing. For example, a very common thing that which is very prominent these days is LGBT stuff, or homosexuality, or same sex, same gender marriages that have been okayed and legalized in lots of countries, okay, particularly in America, in many states. Because now the people, majority of the people in the parliament who got it approved, they think it's okay, there's nothing wrong in it. They think this is moral, this is correct, there's nothing wrong in there. While um, few decades ago, that was considered totally immoral and unacceptable in their society. Okay. Even so much so, in somewhere in the 60s and 70s, when there was a prominent case was a big computer scientist and mathematician, Alan Turing. He was one of the fathers of computers, and he played a very, very important role in modern computer development. If you read about him, he was a homosexual person, a gay. And at that time, they had enough morality left in them, the Americans. They tried to when they found out that he is a homosexual, they tried to take action against him. And they put him under treatment and classified him as sick person because this is a sickness. It's against nature. And so he retaliated against the treatment, and he eventually poisoned himself and committed suicide. And the point I'm trying to make is that at that in during those decades, the 60s and the 70s, and possibly even the 80s also, their morality standards considered same sex marriages and homosexuality to be immoral and wrong. And now it's the total opposite, which shows that they don't have any proper standards for those things. Okay, so they are being ruled by their own intellect. And intellect of a person is defective unless or until it is guided by ulumul wahi, the revelation sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So So Islam gave women all the rights 1450 years ago and laid out everything clearly. And we must believe in it that whatever rights are given to women in Islam, they are they are the ones that are the standard, and they are the ones that the women deserve, and nothing more than that. Whatever rights Allah has given to the men, that's what they deserve, and this is the just, and this is justice, and nothing more than that or nothing less than that. Because if because we cannot follow Islam and yet believe that no Western stuff is better than that. This is almost kufr. If you consider any non-Islamic thing to be better in any way than the teachings that Rasulullah uh, gave us, then we are putting our iman in great danger. Okay. So in 1450 years ago, Arabs before Islam in the Jahiliyyah time, they were also in a very bad condition, and they were giving no rights to women. They would bury girls alive. Women were considered inheritable property and were given in inheritance to others. There was no right, they never had any right of inheritance. Men would marry innumerable wives and would not do justice among them or give them their rights. If the husband would die, the period of iddat was too long, almost about a year or so, and they were locked in a room and were not allowed to even clean themselves or shower or during that period of iddat. All sorts of stupid, idiotic things were present. And Islamic teachings, they brought woman they elevated woman to a very high state where it belonged. Western societies in the Dark Ages and up till 60s, as I said, also had no proper rights given to the women. Okay, they didn't even have rights to vote, and still, if you check their statistics, West have extreme domestic violence in their society. Right, statistically speaking, like every 2 minutes there is a social domestic case that for that arises which violates women's rights, okay, and violence against women. Statistically speaking, every 2 minutes there's such a case, such an incident. The reason why we don't find that out is because they are clever. They don't publish these things. They hide these things. Okay. And their media is also not as much free as they claim it to be free and as we think or believe it to be free. There are much more crimes out there than you can expect in any others or in Islamic country at the moment or in Pakistan. Okay. But they don't publish those things in newspapers. And so what you see is a good view of it. While Pakistani media is controlled in such a way that they they like to have it publish the bad things and hide the good things. And so all we get is a negative view of our country or any other Islamic country. And we are never shown the positive aspects of our society and the positive of faces or positive sides of our culture and of our country. Yet there is more insecurity and more danger to women in Western society. And why wouldn't it be? There are more rape cases. Like if you look at American statistical organizations on the and there it's right there available on the web. There are groups there that are they have published their statistics there on the website. And every like out of every one in every four out of every four women is known to have either been raped or had some kind of a sexual assault performed on her. Yet you don't read that in the papers. But any single incident happen in Pakistan or other Muslim country, that is made a hot case, and everybody talks about that because the media is controlled by the Yahud and the Nasara. And if you think that our media is not controlled, then you are in dark. All of the media is controlled by them. It's driven by money. It's driven by force. Okay, so they're not free. So their one of the jobs given to them is highlight all the negative aspects. Okay, and any incident happen, to highlight that and hide all the positive aspects. And I can guarantee that there are more positive aspects in our society as compared to the Western society. It's just that we are being led by people who are corrupted. They have been chosen for us by those powers so that they uh, make the system go from bad to worse. But otherwise, the anyone who is a believer is a much better person than a non-believer is. And that's why we are asked to befriend the believers and not the disbelievers. Not leave mu'mineen and take kafirin as friends. So all sorts of when the women liberation movement started in the West, and then all sorts of weird and idiotic things started to arise, and they started to demand all sorts of stupid and ideas which would never make sense to a person of proper intellect. And they started, and behind this also was the desire of men to illegally make use of women or benefit from women. They are the they are behind this. Okay, giving in the name of uh, gender freedom, in the name of liberation or women rights, they want to use the women for their own benefit. The Western men, in all of the anywhere, whenever the men are taking the lead in these kind of movements and are pushing the agenda forward, they are actually using women for their own benefit. Okay, so because men are always attracted to women, and this is one of the things. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained parda, hijab on women, because otherwise it would create social problems and social sins, and it will topple the social structure of Muslims, of any society. So this is one of the key things that has to be done. And behind all of these liberation movements are also the hidden agenda, several other hidden agendas. For example, a lot of industries are running because of women. They are earning because of women. Okay. For example, makeup industries, fashion industries. And you see that they earn a lot from women than from men. And if women start to cover themselves, if women start to hide themselves, do hijab, they would be spending much less on their beauty and much less on their dress and other things if they don't have to show it to anybody. And that would mean the big multinational organizations that are earning their livelihood because of women, they'll start losing their profits. And this is one of the reasons why you would see in the West movements against hijab. And it's amazing that Muslims don't give a thought to it, thought to this as why is all this happening? Why all of a sudden those nations that talk the most about women's rights, that talk most about giving them freedom to choose, all of a sudden start snatching the hijab away from the faces of Muslim men and depriving them their right to choose how to dress. Isn't that hypocritical? Doesn't that contradict what they say? Doesn't their action contradict? Forming laws and legislations against covering faces and hijab in public places, isn't that a direct violation of women's rights? And they can use whatever excuse they want or they like for that. They can use the excuse of terrorism, they can use the excuse of security problems and stuff. But this is all bullshit, all crap, all lies. And we started falling for those things. We don't see through their plans. Okay. So this thing, these plots must be understood. Okay. So they start in the uh, in the form of liberation movements and women rights. They start claiming equal status in the society and stuff, and in the family as well, and claiming the rights to do anything the man can do or is allowed to do, and claiming that they are exactly same and they have no differences. But that's not true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make men and women the same way. Their physical appearances are different. Their capabilities are different. Okay? Their emotional level, emotions are different. Emotional skills are different. Their intellectual IQ is different. Their emotional IQs are different. And if one is better suited for one kind of a job, the other is better suited for a different kind of job. And which is why the men and women, they complement each other. Okay, and together they make the whole thing. One is good or excels in one kind of a task, one kind of task, and the other excels at another kind of task. And they each take care of whatever they are expert at, and this is how the whole system works. But when you encourage everyone to take part in every activity, then this doesn't make sense, and this violates any organizational principle. If you take any organization, whether in the West or in the East or whatever, any company, any organization works on the principle of division of labor, doesn't it? They say when you go for a job or when they start hiring, they say we need experts for this in this area. And everybody is on the same page. The whole world is on the same page in this issue. That there are different people for different experts for different areas. A single person cannot be an expert in all areas. So when they are hiring for their company, they look for experts in a particular area and they hire in there. And that person is not allowed to work on other things. They are asked to work in the area that they hire for a particular job that they hire for, right? So if a person, if so, for example, I work in a university. So in a university we have a, a faculty which is specialized for teaching, and all they do is teach. Then there is a security department that takes care of security, security guards and others, whatever. Then there is a housekeeping department that takes care of the housekeeping thing, cleaning and stuff, and maintenance and repairs for the university. That's a different department. Then there is a student services department that takes care of issues related to students. Then there is an admissions department that takes care of marketing campaigns and running admission tests and inducting students. Then there is a examination department that takes care of how the examination should be conducted and managing that. Then there are finance department. There's a finance department in our university that takes care of all the finances, right? Then there is a human resource department which takes care of hiring people and interviewing people and setting up interviews and stuff. So you see, there are so many different departments right in one organization. I am, for example, I'm a faculty member. I teach and I manage the academic side. If I say I want to work, contribute in HR, they're not going to allow me to do it because they will say it's not your expertise and you were hired for as for teaching and also in teaching in a certain area in certain subjects, and that's where you should limit yourself because this is what we hired you for and this is your expertise and we want you to do the best of your job, because if you start contributing in HR, you will not be doing your best because you're not an expert in there. You haven't studied, you haven't worked. I say I want to contribute in HR, I want to contribute in finance, I want to contribute to the student services, I want to contribute also in the admin side. Nobody's going to allow me to do that or allow anybody else to do that. For every area, they hire people of their expertise. And same goes for any other company and any other institution. But when it comes to home, when it comes to society, a society is also an organization. A home is also an organization. It's an institution. It's a company. It's an organization. And it's a very first lowest level of organization, the most important organization, which the product of that organization is people. A home produces people who are able to benefit the society. So in there as well, the people, they have their own expertise. So men have their own expertise, women have their own expertise as members of society. So now I'm not talking about any a job skill. I'm talking about social skills. When running a family, a certain set of skills are desired. A family, a home is an organization, and there are several departments in there as well, isn't it? They need a source of income. So there must be someone who takes the responsibility of earning and bringing in money and funds to the home organization, to the inhabitants of the home or residents of the home. Then people living in that organization, people working in that organization, which are the family members, they have other needs as well besides money. They need to have, they need to eat every day. They need to have their have the house maintenance stuff, right? They Someone needs to make sure that everybody is comfortable in house, just like in a university or in a company. There's a department that is dedicated to ensure that people coming there for work every day are comfortable. If the air condition in my office breaks down, there's a department that handles that. And if my chair breaks down, if I'm not comfortable with any of the furniture, there's a department there that takes care of it so that I can do my job properly, which is running the university and which is teaching, which is one of the core jobs of a school or for a university. Same goes with every other company. Similarly, for a home, there are several tasks that need to be done to make sure that the people who work there or live there or contribute to that home, which are the family members, they're comfortable in all sorts of ways. Okay? So several tasks are there and they need to be distributed and divided. division of labor is a fundamental principle at work and every organizational level. You cannot have a single worker or person contribute in multiple jobs because that's not the way things work. It's against the nature. It's against uh, sensible distribution of work. How come they don't follow that at the family level? So the husband goes out to work, and the wife says, I'm also gonna go out to work. I'm also gonna go out to earn. When they come back home, they're both hungry. There's nobody to cook food, and say, okay, let's buy the food from outside. What about house maintenance? We both share in there. We both work. We both do our chores, our share of jobs in there. We share in everything. What about raising children? Well, we share in everything. We share in the raising of the children as well. But not everybody has expertise in all levels. Okay. So this is to be understood. We mix up, we get confused in this thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made men physically powerful. Men are able to go through a lots of physical hardships and tolerate and endure that. This is how they're constructed. This is how they're built. This is how they're created. They're rough and tough. Earning livelihood may involve any kind of toughness, any kind of endurance or tolerance. And so you see that men go out, and traditionally, men were the ones who who acquired that role. In Western societies as well, up till the 1960s or 50s or 60s, you will, if you look at the history, if you read their history, you will see that they also had a similar structure. That men would go out and earn the livelihood. They would work in fields, they would work in factories, they would do manual labor and whatever, and or run businesses. And women would take care of everybody else in the home because they're both managing partners. They're both partners in the home organization. And one of them is considered a managing partner. In any factory, in any organization, in any university, there is a hierarchy of roles, there hierarchy of administration. There is a chief executive officer who takes everybody listens to, and then under them directors, and under him managers, and under him workers and team leads and workers. Every organization follows a hierarchy of a chain of authorization. It's not, it can never work if everybody is at the same level of authority. There has to have a hierarchy of authority. Otherwise, that organization will fall and break. Same thing goes, Islam says, same thing should happen in the home as well. A home is an organization as well, and there also should be a hierarchy of authorization. There are partners there. So husband and wife are partners that are managing, but one of them has to be a managing partner. One of them has to have authority over the other, final decision making. What if both of them run into conflicts in a university, in a firm, in an organization, in a company? If multiple people sitting in a meeting have a conflict of opinions, who there must be someone to make a decision. 10 people are present in a meeting and they're giving 10 different opinions. Who's going to decide what action to take? So there's an in charge. There's a chief operating officer or chief executive officer or whatever. Same goes in the home. It's an organization. If they're deciding something and they are not in agreement, someone must make a decision. That's where the West has fallen into an error. They have mistaken, and they say no, husband and wife both are the same, and they must mutually decide. And when it happens that when they are unable to decide, they run into conflicts, and those conflicts increase, and they end up in divorce. And so more and more is a very high number of divorces that exist in Western society, and in our society, Muslim society, since we have started following the footsteps of West, divorces have increased here as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, the men are although both are partners in the home organization, but men are the managing partners. They have a slight authority, slight elevated status, and they are given the authority to make a final decision, and the others must listen to them. As long as everybody accepted that and everybody agreed upon that, things would go smooth. And whenever the people in the lower level of hierarchy, they start challenging the ones in the hierarchy, that's where the disputes start. And that's where the organization starts to break apart. So this is not allowed. West allow that, and their social structure is destroyed now. Their family structure is gone. They don't have a proper family anywhere. Because a husband, you know, there it doesn't have any more rights on the wife than wife has have authority over husband. The husband doesn't have any more authority on wife as much as than the wife has authority over husband. So either they both agree on something, or they run into conflict and they split and they divorce. And if those arguments increase, then they have to separate away, take separate path. But what happened in other worldly organizations? What happened um, in companies out there, in universities and other organizations, right? The managing person, the executive officer, he has a final say in it. And if I don't agree with him, right, I still have to follow what he says or she says, whoever that person is, isn't it? So, and because I consider it as my need, that if I don't work and if I don't obey, I will lose my job and I will lose the benefit. So there is a, a a negative side there to the arguments, which a fear that if I disobey my superior at work, I might get fired, which is like divorce. And then I run the risk of losing my paycheck, monthly paycheck, and then I would have to look for another job, and maybe I will able to find a job, maybe I won't be able to find a job, and then how would I support my family and my kitchen? So that fear keeps me submissive at my workplace and makes me follow the orders, whether I like it or not, many times, whether I agree with it or not. I, everybody cannot be on the same page all the time. But the fear that I will lose uh, the pay and lose the funding and lose the money, that fear keeps me in working at my place and keeps me obedient to my superiors. Okay, whether I agree with it or not most of the time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept a similar structure at home as well. Because whenever the people working in an organization, they run into conflict and they refuse to obey the elders and their superiors, the company starts to break apart. It cannot continue. The homes also run or break apart, and they enter into, when husband and wife enter into conflicts that don't get resolved, they divorce and they separate out. This is one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala avoids, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded to avoid. And anyone who tries to break a home or separate a husband and a wife, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah has given severe warnings to that person. Because a home is the most important organization in the whole world, in the whole structure, social structure and everything. Because if it produces men that are sound and sane, people, men and women, people that are sound and they're sane, so that they can contribute positively to the society in every way they can. But if the organization of home is a place of constant struggle and constant conflicts, then the children that are raised are also become mentally unstable. They will not be able to contribute neither the the husband will be able to contribute to the society positively, neither the nor the wife will be able to contribute to the society positively, nor the children will be raised to do that, because they're always faced with the constant struggle and constant conflicts that will upset their mental status and mental things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also the laws in Islam and the rights in Islam and the principles in Islam are laid such that there is a fear attached to the submissive ones and the lower ones in the hierarchy, that if you conflict, if you run into conflict and you divorce, you will face problems later on in the society. And that when as long as that fear is intact, that keeps the home together. Just like the fear of losing salary on getting fired keeps an organization together. Okay, so all of those things are, you know, there is a hikmah and wisdom behind all of those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained, and we must understand that. And when we fail to understand that, then we run the risk of problems and issues. Okay, so Nisa, the Surah Nisa, Nisa is an Arabic word which means women. It's a plural of imra'atun. Imra'atun, it means one woman, and Nisa means plural, many women. This surah is called Surah An-Nisa Kubra. Kubra means big or great, because this is a very long surah, and the whole surah is named after women. There is no surah that is named after men. So this is again giving a special place to women. And it talks about, so it's a long surah, it talks about lots of commands and lots of rights of women. And there is another surah in the 29th juz called Surah Talaq, and that's called Surah An-Nisa Qusra. Qusra means short. It's a very short surah. It's about 2 pages or less than 2 pages long. It also talks about some of the rights and some of the things about women, but because it's short, it's a short Surah Nisa, and this is a long Surah Nisa. All right. So highlights. The main thing is women rights. All right. About the whole. This is the summary of the whole surah. If we say what is the one thing, what is the main one single highlighting theme of this surah, that would be women rights. And it also talks about qata rahmi, breaking of blood ties. Okay, so raham doesn't mean it's not the same raham. Raham doesn't here means mercy, but raham means the raham or the womb of a mother. So the ties or the relationship that gets established because of being born somewhere. So those are called the relationship of raham, or the relationship of the womb relationships or the blood ties. And qata means breaking. So breaking of those relationships that you had no choice in making. So we have certain relationships, we have a choice. We can choose our friends, we can choose our neighbors, we can choose our colleagues, work colleagues and stuff. But we can't choose our relatives. Okay, so those you get by being born somewhere. And because they have been decided for us by Allah, Allah considered them very, very important. Whatever Allah has decided for us and whatever we cannot change no matter what we do, they definitely have a higher importance than what Allah has chosen for us has a higher importance what we choose for ourselves. So qata rahmi, that means severing of blood ties or breaking of blood ties is a severe issue and a sin. And this surah also talks about the rights of orphans, and something that women dislike and men love, okay, very, very much. It talks about polygamy, having multiple wives, and then it also lays down some of the laws of inheritance. It also lists some of the muharramat, those relationships with whom marriage is forbidden. It also talks about um, husband-wife relationship, and related to that is some of the commandments of meher. And a meher is an honorarium that is given to the wife by the husband as a condition of marriage. And then it talks about the permission of tayammum in case water is not available. So these ayahs were revealed permitting tayammum, and this is a blessing for this ummah. Finally, it talks about delivering trust or diyanatdari. And so let's go through them little by little. So the initial verses of this surah are also commonly read as part of the khutbah of nikah. This is the sunnah khutbah. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Till here, these words are included in the khutbah of nikah, the sunnah khutbah of nikah that Rasulullah used to recite. He used to recite some verses from here. And khutbah of nikah is not a mandatory part of nikah. It's a sunnah thing. If somebody did not recite the khutbah, the nikah would still be valid if it satisfies the mandatory aspects, in which are the ijab and the qabul, the offer and the acceptance of the offer in the presence of two witnesses. That's all there is, the mandatory aspects of the nikah. This also talks about qarabat dari, which is the blood ties, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages or warns people not to break their blood ties. Okay. And there are hadiths in which also talk about the virtues of maintaining the blood ties, the relatives, the relationship with the relatives. And one of the hadiths in Bukhari Sharif says that Rasulullah said, whoever wishes that his sustenance be increased and his age be increased, life be increased, then he should pay more attention to doing favors to his blood relatives. Okay. Even though if they are not doing good, one should pay them back in good, and the reward of that will come from Allah. So we should be seeking reward from Allah and not looking for return or reward from other people. And this is one of the reasons why lots of the times there is tension among the families, among their relatives, uncles and aunts and this or cousins. He did that to me and so, and I'm not going to talk to them, or he didn't give me my right in inheritance, or I don't know, and so I'm not going to see him, or this and that, or whatever. So the relationship among the relatives must be or relationship between any two people, whether between the husband and the wife, or the parents and the children, or whatever, must always be for the sake of Allah. And the reward must always be sought from Allah. This is called ikhlas. If you start seeking the reward from people, then this is against ikhlas, against sincerity. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging here, and Rasulullah is encouraging here, that look, even though your relatives may not be doing good to you, but if you in return still continue to do good for the sake of Allah, Allah will reward you with such things that you can never get from anywhere else. Right? You can never get your life increased, or the productive period of your life increased. Okay, and that can only be done by Allah. This is only in the hands of Allah. Similarly, your sustenance, everything you need, everything you utilize in your life is called rizq. All right, rizq is not just food that we eat. It's everything that my clothes are my rizq, my car is my rizq, my residence is my rizq. Even my wife is and children are my rizq because I need them. I cannot live without them. So everything I need is rizq. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say there's a promise of increase of rizq and sustenance which a person cannot do by his own effort. This is pre-decided and predetermined things. One of the things that as part of the predetermined fate. So Rasulullah is giving the glad tidings that if you do good to your relatives, even if they're not doing good back to you, Allah, you should keep your intentions for the sake of Allah because Allah will give you a reward and not expect anything from them. One of the other hadith says, Rasulullah says, um, if there is any single person in a nation who is involved in cutting ties, blood ties, then Allah will not descend His blessings, His rahmah, His mercy on that whole nation. Okay, another hadith says that one who cuts blood ties and will never enter Jannah. Okay. Another hadith says that Hazrat Aqba bin Amr radiallahu ta'ala, he says that I asked Rasulullah, yes, and I asked him, oh, your Prophet Sallallahu, tell me some actions that are most blessed. And Sallallahu said, O Aqwa, whichever of your relative tries to cut ties from you, you should make an effort to be connected to him. Whoever um, takes away your right and does not give you your right and does not do justice, you do justice to him. And whoever does anything wrong to you, you forgive that. So these are some of the actions which are highly rewarding, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give a return in this dunya and also in the akhirah. Then it talks about the rights of the orphans. There is a high reward for uh, raising an orphan, but there's also severe warning on not doing justice with the orphan or taking away its property in consuming it unlawfully. There are three rights of orphans that are mentioned in this surah, and those are atul yatama amwalahum, give them their whatever they deserve, their out of their wealth. ولا تتبدلوا الخبيث بالطيب, don't exchange their good stuff with bad stuff. Okay. ولا تأكلوا أموالهم إلى أموالكم, and do not consume their property illegally. And Allah says this is a big sin. So it talks about that as well. In Bukhari and Muslim, there is a narration that comes in which Rasulullah outlines 7 sins that are so deadly that they destroy a person. And among those, the topmost one is to take away the property of an orphan unlawfully and start consuming it. Okay. And then the other 7 ones are to do shirk with Allah, to perform magic. Okay, and this is about like the real black magic, not the magic tricks that you see on the net and in programs. Those are not really magic; those are just illusions. But this is about real black magic done through shayateen. And to murder someone, to run away from jihad, and to accuse innocent women of adultery, and to take interest or riba is also one of the grave 7 among the 7 deadly sins. Then this is a not so liked verse of Quran for women, but men love it the most, I guess. And it talks about permission for multiple marriages up to four. And of course, with the condition that they are able to um, do justice among them. And this is one of the needs of the society as well, because uh, women are always in slightly higher number than men. And towards as we approach towards the last days of this ummah, the Qiyamah, the number of the hadith predicts, Rasulullah's hadith forecast that the number of women will increase way, way higher as it is now. Besides that, there's another reason why men are allowed to have multiple wives. Even if men and women were the same number, though they're not, because for many reasons. Number one, men are ordered to go for jihad as well. And if they're doing jihad or if they're in military, they die in large numbers whenever a fight comes. So women don't die from fights generally because they don't participate in those. Then the other reason is women have a longer lifespan, medically speaking, as compared to men. But even if they were in the same number, there's still a lesser number of men that are marriageable as opposed to women. Most women are marriageable, but not all men are marriageable, right? So when you are seeking a man or boy for your daughter or your sister, we know that we look for a lot of things. That man should have a good nature, should not have a bad company, uh, should be earning proper livelihood, etc., etc. And men are more likely to adopt bad company and have bad manners and bad akhlaq. And because men are given physical power, and nothing can change that, because this is by Allah. Allah has created like that. Women are physically weak, men are physically stronger, generally speaking. So if a man is not on the right path, if man is not uh, pious, okay, then he can easily physically abuse women or his wife in several ways. If one of the responsibilities of the men is to earn livelihood, women are not uh, forced to earn. It's not their job to earn. It's not one of their tasks given by Allah to earn. But men are given the responsibility to earn for their family, to go out and earn. That's one of the reasons why they're built like this, rough and tough. But there are so many men that don't earn, and they look for wealthy women to get married, and they make their women work and go to job, and they use their wives' earnings to support themselves. Well, these are not good men, okay? Because they don't do the job they're built for or they're made for, and they're going against the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we are looking for a boy or a man for our sisters or daughters, we look for certain characteristics that are more prominent in men, okay? Being that they should not be abusive, they should be pious, they should be soft-hearted for women, tolerant, loving, and earning halal, okay? And because they are the final decision makers, a lot of skills are required to be present in men. As opposed to women, there's much less requirement because women cannot actually generally do physical harm because they are submissive. Okay, they are at the lower level of hierarchy, administrative hierarchy. They have to obey their husband. A husband can do physical control, but women can't. So most of the women are marriageable from this perspective because they are expected to be obedient. But no, that's not the same with the men. So even though the men may be present in the same quantity, in the same number as women, a much fewer number actually is actually marriageable that you find suitable for your daughter or your sister, okay, as opposed to picking a woman which there are more chances of finding the right one. So for that purpose also, um, uh, if men were not allowed to have multiple wives, then there will be, and still is, and this is a case as well, that there are many women left without finding a right match or partner, and they end up spending their life single, and which is obviously definitely not a preferred thing to do. Then it talks about detailed laws of inheritance, and this is called ilmul faraiz. The laws of inheritance of wirasat is known as ilmul faraiz. So this is a specific terminology. So whenever books talk about ilmul faraiz, that means laws of inheritance. And Rasulullah said it's such complicated stuff that ulama and muftiyan, they don't answer the question unless you write it down, give it in writing, and you give a detailed list of the relatives. And it's a very complicated thing. And it's just one of the first ilm that this ummah will forget. The Rasul predicted that one of the first things that will leave this ummah, or the ummah will forget, and the ummah will mess up with, is the detailed laws of inheritance, and they'll start making mistakes in there and start violating the rights of inheritance. Okay. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, women are not the property of inheritance. It used to be in Arabs, when a person would die, all his wives and stuff would be inherited by whoever was the successor. And so that Allah says, no, this is not right. They are not property, and you have to be good to them. Similarly, if when you divorce them, you cannot ask for meher. Okay, whatever you have given, even if you give um, heaps of gold as meher to them, on divorce, you cannot ask them to give it back to you. The only condition when you can ask the meher back is when the woman or the wife asks for khula. The wife asks for divorce from husband. The wife asks the husband to divorce her, and this is called khula, a request for divorce. Because the wife doesn't have the authority to divorce, the man has. But when a wife, for some reason, for some genuine reason, asks khula, a husband in return can demand the meher back, and this is allowed. This is okay, and any negotiation is okay. Otherwise, you cannot. And this is a qars, a debt on the man. If the meher is not paid, it is considered a debt on the husband. And if he dies without paying that debt, then it'll be taken off. First, it will be deducted from his inheritance, given to the wife, and then the inheritance will be distributed. And then a list of those women with whom nikah or marriage is prohibited, and there's a big list of those. Then we move on to the fifth juz, and still continuing Surah An-Nisa, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, give them the meher, uh, don't eat up their don't eat up their right. This is their right. If you've agreed for a certain thing, you have to pay it. Whether you pay it right there and then, or you pay it in installments, there's something you negotiate. Okay. This piece of verse is misinterpreted by the Shia or the Rawafis to, and they misinterpret this verse as permitting muta. And muta is one of the ways of doing nikah. Before Islam, Arabs had 11 different ways of doing nikah. And one of them was the way that we do, that is continued in this ummah. Another was muta, and there were like 9 others, different types. And muta was permissible in the early stages of Islam, in the early days, and then it was made haram. And now muta is zina. It's the same as zina. There is no difference between zina and muta any longer. So Shia or Rawafis, they interpret this highlighted section of the ayat, claiming that this talks about muta. And there are technical details of why they say this and that, but they are wrong. And this actually talks about or refers to the meher. Okay, this is the all of the tafsir, all of the mufassirin, they agree on that this talks about meher and it's not about the muta. Only the Shia, they separate out from the ummah, from the interpretation of the ijma of the ummah from there. And then this talks about الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. So it says that husbands have a managing authority over their wives at the social level, at the home level. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives one of the reasons, and that reason is وَبِمَا أَنفَقُوا مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ, because they spend on women, on their wives, because they are the bread earners and they have the responsibility of spending for them. And because of that, they have been given a managing authority over them. But this is not the only reason, because if in some family, if wife is earning, which is unusual, but it does happen, and the man and the husband is not earning, it doesn't mean that the husband loses the right of managing authority over the wife. Wife is still to be obedient to the husband. And the reason is these two are separated by the Arabic word what means and there are two other things, two separate things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first of all, Allah says that they have been made the managing authority. That's it. Bima fadlallah. So one of the reasons why they are the managing authority is because they spend. But the other reason which Allah has given first is the reason why they are made the managing authority because this is what Allah wanted. Bima fadlallah. Because Allah has blessed them with this status. And this reason is placed first, and the spending reason is the second. And in Quran, the order in which things are said have a meaning. So the one that is when the thing that is said first has a higher value or importance than the one that comes after it. So even if in certain household an unusual thing happens where the wife is earning and the husband is not earning and just sitting in the house and living off his wife's earnings, which is obviously it should not be like that, and it's disliked. But if even that's the case, it does not give wife the authority of becoming a decision maker or managing authority over the husband. Allah has already ordained that or pre-decided that the man will be, in any case, deciding authority. Okay. So these types of terms have been pushed over from the Western societies into our society as well. And I call it social terrorism. It's a term I coined. I call it social terrorism. And it's there to destroy our social structure. Okay, and people get confused, and Muslims are getting so much confused, particularly those that are highly influenced by Western society, Western fashion, Western dresses, all those ladies and men, and they disregard Islamic teachings, and they look down upon the ulama and the scholars and criticize them all the time, and they seem to be in love with the Western philosophy and lifestyle. They play with these things, and they raise a lot of these kind of things. But this is, you know, a hoax. Women empowerment is hoax. Gender empowerment is hoax, is a fraud. Because power doesn't go with this. Power doesn't go with gender. Power goes with designations. If you attach power to designation, if you attach power to gender, then men is the most powerful physically, because this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it. And nothing in the world can change it. Okay? So whenever we talk about physical power, men will always be powerful. And the other kind of power goes with designations. If someone is a manager, he has that managerial position. Managerial position is a designation. It has power, authority over those that are below him or her. And anyone can be a manager. In a university, the vice chancellor could be a male or could be a female. So that male and female doesn't have authority. That designation of vice chancellor has authority. In a company, chief executive officer has authority over everybody else. And that chief executive officer could be a man, could be a woman. So that man or woman doesn't have authority over people, but the chief executive officer designation has authority over people. So that must be clarified. That must be understood. This is where they are deceiving, they're confusing the people. Okay. The one who wants to destroy the social structure, Islamic social structure, that's where those people are playing with our mindset and confusing us. So we should clarify all of these things, should understand that if power is attached to genders, then everywhere man is powerful, because physically that's how he's built, that's how he's created, and nobody in the world can challenge that. From that perspective, every society and every culture is man driven, not just Islam. Why put Islam on spot? They do that, they start blaming, and we start accepting that because we haven't learned from proper sources. Okay, we must clarify our confusions from those that are knowledgeable, from scholars, from ulama, from people who are blessed with those things. We should open up our mind and our heart, study and strengthen our iman first of all, and not be defensive all the time. But this is the best deen that ever is. We should market it like this, and we should believe it like this. But instead, we end up being defensive, and we end up hiding things and making things soft because we don't have the right answer to, because we don't believe it internally ourselves. We feel shy and ashamed. No, this is the truth. If Allah has said this is the best thing, if you don't, then so be it. It's your problem. You don't accept it, or it doesn't ring, it doesn't shake your heart or anything. It's your problem. But I'm not gonna accept it. Okay. So power goes actually with designations. The president is powerful, no matter who that president is. The chief executive officer is powerful, no matter who that chief executive officer is. All right. Similarly, husband is a designation. And a wife is, but in these designations, it just so happen that these designations are have a gender attached to it. Husband can always be a man, and wife will always be a woman. A mother will always be a woman, and a father will always be a man. But yet these are designations, and Islam has given designations as power. Power. The mother and the father have power over have authority over their children. Okay, it's not. It doesn't say men and women. It says husband and wife. Husband has authority over wife. Parents have authority over children. And some of you who know Arabic will say, no, here I see the word being used as rijal and nisa, which is men and women. Allah is saying men have authority over women, over women. That's not what it means actually, because in common language, the man of the house is when we use the word the man of the house, which it actually implies husband. When we say the woman of the house, means wife. And this is what it means over here. It's not a general statement like any man has a higher status than any other woman in the world. That's not the way it is. But a husband, the man of the house, is a managing authority over the woman of that same house. That same man will not have managing authority over his neighbor's wives. All right. Because that's not the wife. That's not the wife of the house. Okay. All right. So and then if issues come up, then there's a 3-step rectification process that is given, and I'm gonna just skip quickly because we are running short of time. Rasulullah has prohibited hitting, prohibited the husbands to hit the wife. And one of the thing that is exploited and to put Islam on a corner and to make objections and criticism is that Quran allows men to hit or beat the wives. وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. And again, there is a group, or there are some who try to say, no, 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 this is not what it means. Well, this is what it means. Yes, it means that. Okay. We cannot change the teachings of Allah. You have to be afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't mess up the teachings of Quran just because you don't have the right reply or answer to Western criticism. Don't manipulate Quranic words. Okay, وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ does in fact gives the husbands the permission to raise the stick. Okay, and I give it an argument. If a man or a woman becomes a criminal and they commit a crime and police approaches them and they start fighting the police, wouldn't the police raise a stick on them? Obviously they will. And they will do all sorts of things, starting from simple measures to extreme measures, to make sure that they listen and they take them in control and they stop their criminal activity. And the police, most of the places, they are men, and if they are beating the criminal and that criminal is a woman, nobody raises an objection on that. But when a husband raises a stick, or if Allah or if you talk about the husband having the authority to raise the stick, then all of a sudden objections start to pop up, and people start to criticize. Even among the Muslims, they start to criticize, and they start to say, the modern Muslims then start to say, uh, this is the Maulvi interpretation or men interpretation, and Maulvis like to do this and that. But this is not true. Okay. So, and in fact, the 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 beating aspect in here, so there's a three-step rectification process that is talked about. Okay. So, and on what condition? وَاللَّاتِي تَخَافُونَ نُشُوزَهُنَّ, that if you're afraid of their rebellions. So nushuz is uncontrolled rebellion. Okay. And in that case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a three-step process. So police are given a certain steps of countering rebellions of the citizens, right? You do this, you do this. If they don't listen, then you do this. If you don't listen, then you eventually they'll be allowed to use the stick as well on the criminals. May it be men, may they be men, may they be women. Criminals could be anybody. Similarly, the authority at home, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a three-step rectification process. They are not allowed to raise the stick right away. If they do, they're committing zulm. Okay, they will be sinful. So the first step, and so nushuz is not just simple disobedience. It's extreme disobedience in an uncontrolled rebellion of the woman, of the wife. So what is the first step? فَعِظُوهُنَّ. Then the first step is counsel them, advise them, sit with them, counsel them, talk to them. And this is not a one time process that you took them on a side and you talked to them and you said, I've counseled them and this is done. No, this may go on for months or years. I don't know. It didn't happen. It's not like once or twice kind of thing. What happens then? Well, if you see that she's not improving or even gotten worse over the time, and then wahjuruhunna, you separate yourself out. You leave her bed. Don't stop sleeping with her. And that is to express your anger that you're not happy. And any good natured wife, someone with good fitrah, with good temperament, will eventually realize that there's something wrong and she need to fix something, and will bring things on the table and discuss and try to resolve it. Okay. And then finally, if that doesn't work, and that may go on for some time, then eventually وَضْرِبُهُنَّ, then raise the stick. And that stick also has been described. It's not, you cannot take any stick and start beating mercilessly. So this is the picture that people against Islam, they sketch in front of the world. This is what Islam is about and this and that. In a hadith, it talks about that the husband is allowed to use his miswak as beating stick. So, which shows that the beating is more of a symbolic nature, expressing extreme anger and frustration and unhappiness of the husband. And for those who didn't listen or who didn't pay any heed or attention to the leaving of the bed, the second level of rectification process, they eventually will be able to pick it up. The third level, that I need to do something to resolve the issues, because he must be really, really upset and angry. And okay, and Rasulullah has prohibited extreme beating and stuff, particularly on the face and stuff. And the hadith talks about using miswak and things. And obviously, when you hit with the miswak, it's not going to be a painful thing. It doesn't hurt, but it shows it's a gesture of extreme anger and extreme unhappiness, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the husband to express that while keeping it in control. Okay, not let it use the authority in an uncontrolled manner. So, okay, so this is another hadith of Abu Dawud Sharif, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah has expressed the rights and prohibited the husband to cross the boundaries. Okay, and then about neighbors and relatives, and then permission of tayammum. And this is a blessing on the ummah that they are allowed to use the dust or the earth for purification in case they don't find water, because this ummah is meant to travel for the sake of da'wat, move around, and this is a big duty that is given to it. And because the ummah is expected to travel, to move from place to place giving dawah, as did the Sahaba. Okay, they traveled far and wide in the world. That's one of the reasons why we are Muslims, because Rasulullah never stepped in our countries, but Sahaba did. And then Tabi'in did, and the Tabi'in did, and people took it as their duty to do that. This is one of the main purposes of this ummah. So this ummah will travel around for the sake of the deen, for the da'wat, for jihad, for lots of things, for establishing deen far and wide. And when they do, they will be, while traveling, they will run into circumstances and conditions where they will have to pray, but they don't have water. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave facilities. Okay, I'll facilitate for you, and you can use uh, earth or earthen things to wipe certain parts of your body in certain ways. And Allah says, I will take it as purification, just like water. Okay. Similarly, they will be performing their salah in deserts, in forests, where there will be no other people present, no population there. And so, how would they know where the Qibla is? They may not have modern instruments. They may have, they may not have. And so Allah gave them further facilities that you make an estimate of the Qibla and just pray. And even if it turns out that Qibla was even right opposite to the direction you prayed, once you prayed, doing your best estimation, you don't have to repeat your prayer. I'll accept it. I'll accept your prayer. So all of these, and there are several other facilities that are given to this ummah that were not given to the previous nations, the Prophet, because a great work, a great duty is expected out of this. And then guidance in community life about ihsan, trust, justice, mercy, protection of the rights of the non-Muslims along with Muslims is given. Non-Muslims have lesser rights in Islamic countries than Muslims. And this is another thing that Muslims don't come to grip with very easily. They're confused. I'm telling you, Muslims today are extremely confused. And that must change. And, I'm part of several WhatsApp groups and stuff. My friends who've studied with me, peers and stuff, who are now living in different areas of the world, different parts of the world, and they keep on, I see discussions where I see things coming from lots of Muslims, where they consider this as injustice when a non-Muslim is giving less rights than a Muslim. We must understand that if we use such terminology, and if we think that this is injustice, we are actually objecting on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are criticizing on Allah, and this can lead to kufr, because the rights of everybody is set by Allah. Ulama have not set the rights. They are just educating you what Allah has said, what Rasulullah has said. In an Islamic state, non-Muslims have lesser rights than Islam. That doesn't mean that they have no rights. They have lesser rights than Muslims. And this is the best system. because Allah has said so. This should be our yaqeen. This should be our conviction. This should be our iman. And all of this is done in good faith that if they want to, so that a pressure can be, uh, um, you know, an unsaid pressure can be put on them, or kind of like an attraction could be set up for them to attract them to Islam, so that they will see that if I become Muslim, I will enjoy more rights and the same rights as everybody else. But if I remain a non-Muslim, I will lose my rights. I will enjoy less rights. So this serves as an encouragement and attraction for people to leave their wrong faith and wrong religion and convert to Islam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only will give them more benefit in this world, but their akhirah is protected as well. And akhirat is much, much more valuable than this world, because the punishment a non-Muslim will receive in the day of Qiyamah, if he dies on kufr, is eternal hellfire. They'll never, 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 ever come out of it. And so this is by the mercy of Allah that Allah has created certain uh, pressures. Okay. And by pressure, I don't mean that someone is physically pressuring them to become Muslim, because that's not allowed, like Rahafiddin. But an unsaid pressure, okay, like keeping, like promising them, giving them less rights when they are kafir, and promising them equal Muslim rights, more rights when they become Muslim. That's a pressure. That's a passive pressure, not an active pressure. Okay, so these serve to encourage them to become Muslim. This is one of our main duties. We are sent to bring people to Islam, and it's very, very unfortunate and upsetting and shameful scenarios, as we are seeing in Pakistan and other places, that Muslims are retaliating against spreading Islam. While they were supposed to be active da'i, they they are under the Western influence, where West says everybody has the right to practice on whatever they want, and you should not uh, you should not preach anybody anything. This is how the West is. They don't like preaching, but we are ordered to preach. We are ordered to give da'wat. We're not forcing, but we are ordered to do da'wat and encourage and invite in every possible way towards Islam. Okay. So this is why the non-Muslims are to enjoy lesser rights than Muslims, so that they get attracted towards Islam. And some people may call it discrimination, and I'm going to take the rest of the time clearing this confusion, because this again is one of the very popular terms that are in use by people. People often use this discrimination word again and again and again, because this is also one of the things they learned from West. And the West says we don't discriminate again. The Westerners say or claim that we don't discriminate against language, against religion. So we are like an equal opportunity employers kind of thing. This is what they say. We provide equal opportunity to everyone, and we don't discriminate based on religion or caste or creed or language. But they are liars. We need to keep in mind. I've spent a big portion of my life over there in studying them and living with them. And I tell you the tricks they play. When the biggest the biggest means of discrimination among people that they have created are the geographical boundaries of the countries, and the the concept of citizenship. Think about it with your open heart. listen to me with open heart, that, that the citizenship is the biggest form of discrimination. But because they are good at selling their ideas, nobody nobody considers it bad. Okay, but it's very bad. Some kind of discrimination goes all the time. You can never be free from discrimination. In one way or the other, there are discrimination going. So they say that they're not discriminating based on religion, and we buy that. Okay, but they are discriminating against uh, being citizens or nationals of one country and the other. So, for example, we went to Australia to study to do my. I was there for my PhD, and we were not. We still are not the Australian citizens or permanent residents. So we enjoyed much less rights than the citizens of Australia. Today, if you travel to any other country and you're not a citizen, your rights are very limited there. So we had to buy health insurance to support our to take care of our health. Okay, whereas the citizens of Australia, they don't have to buy any health insurance. The government takes care of the health issues. This is a clear discrimination between people. And so in that case, when I would go and I say, look, I deserve the medical facilities as much as anyone, they said, no, this is for, you have to pay for those, and the free services are for our citizen only. Isn't that discriminating? It is clear discrimination. And so I say, look, I want to be your citizen. Make me your citizen and my family. Okay? So that I enjoy the same rights. Then they would say, no. People today are, they want the citizenship of rich countries, Western countries, because they want to go and settle over there and get the benefits. And yet these countries are very selective. They don't want to invite every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every person. They're very selective. So they're doing discrimination. When Muslims were ruling, okay, the caliphate, under the same caliphate, even though the countries, they still had the same country names, but it was considered one caliphate, and there was no discrimination among them. If you go from one place to the other, still in the caliphate, you will still enjoy all the same things. You didn't need visa or passport or anything. Still, Islam says that that there is no need for discrimination among citizens of the countries, but the only discrimination that Islam sets up is between Muslim and non-Muslim. So the Westerners made this discrimination dirty. That discrimination based on religion is been made dirty, and the whole world has bought it, and the Muslims have bought it. While the discrimination that they have made between borders, geographical borders, and based on nationality, they made it positive and clean, and everybody accepts it. This is how stupid we are. We say that no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not asked us to discriminate among geographical boundaries. Allah has asked us to discriminate based on religion, and this is the best way to discriminate. So, Muslims, if they're following the teachings of Islam properly, they would open heartedly say to everybody that if you want to enjoy the same rights as us, all you need to do is accept Islam, and we will accept you as our brother and sister. And even though the Western nations don't want to accept any of us as their citizens, we are ready to accept everybody as our brothers and sisters. If anybody wants to become Muslim, everybody is welcome to do so. All right. So this is the main difference. If Saudi, right now we don't see anyone implementing the teachings of Rasulullah. They by name they are Muslim countries, but we don't see Islamic system anywhere. If Saudi were truly Islamic, they would not discriminate among Muslims of the world as Saudi citizens and non-Saudi citizens. This is not Islamic teachings. Saudi would say that any Muslim would enjoy as many rights as Saudis do, had they been following the proper Islam. And they are rich and they can support all of that. And they would find people becoming Muslim because in large numbers because they want to enjoy the benefits of this. This is one of the ways of attractions. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept the distinction and discrimination between Muslims and non-Muslims. So discrimination is number one, discrimination is always there in one way or the other. The world is never free of discrimination. So keep that in mind. What discrimination to choose and what not to. Allah says discriminate based on religion so that non-Muslims are attracted to become Muslims, to benefit, to enjoy the facilities. Non-Muslims say, no, they have made this a dirty thing, and they say we will make discrimination between geographical boundaries. And while Muslims are open-armed, they say anybody who become Muslim will enjoy the same thing and should enjoy the same thing if they are following the teachings of Islam. So everybody is welcome to become Muslim. Non-Muslim Western countries, they don't say anybody is welcome to become their citizen. They don't allow that. So keep that all of these things in mind. So this is what the main highlights of the surah is, and there's an ayah in there as well that says, Ya alladhina amanu ati'u Allah ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. Obey Allah and obey the Rasul and the ulil amr. So Allah says obey all three, Allah and His Rasul and ulil amr. Ulil amr, there are two meanings of that. One is the rulers who are pious rulers and who rule according to Islam. And second interpretation is ulama and scholars. So there is a direct commandment of Allah directing us to follow what the righteous ulama say, and we listen to them and learn from them what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasul has taught us. So we stop over here, and I guess they're more about the qasr salat when you're traveling and salatul khawf in the times of when you're in fight with the enemy. And also there's an ayah which says ijma of the Muslim ummah is binding upon all the people, right? So if in any time, any era, the Muslim scholars agree on certain things, the main big scholars agree on certain things, then it's binding upon all of the people to follow that, and that's called ijma. Okay, and some of the issues that were decided by the ijma of the Sahaba, and the ijma of the Sahaba is the strongest ijma, are these: 3 talaq in one sitting are considered 3, not 1. Okay, so if someone gives 3 talaq in one go, then they are separated permanently. Muta is haram, and zina till Qiyamah, like zina. The sunnah rakat of salat before and after every first salah. So before Fajr salah, there are 2 sunnahs. Before Zuhr, 4 sunnah, and 2 after it. I'm talking about the muakkada, the stressed ones. After Maghrib, 3, and after Isha, 2. All of these are established by the Hadith of Rasulullah and by the practice of the Ummah, and Ummah has made ijma that these are required to be performed. You cannot leave those sunnah rakat. And then the tarawih of being 20 rakat is also decided by the ijma of the Sahaba. All of these are masail that are decided by the ijma of the Sahaba, and they're binding upon all the people. They cannot leave it. If they leave this and take another point of view other than this, then they are committing sin. This is what it means to be binding upon the ummah. Okay. And I think I'll just stop over here. And this is the end of Surah An-Nisa. Alhamdulillah, we're done with that. So let's make dua inshallah, and if after that if there are any questions you can ask. اللهم لك الحمد كما أنت وصلى وسلم على محمد كما أنت وفضل بنا كما أنت فإنك هل تقال المغفرة اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى صلى الله تعالى على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وسلم آمين 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 يا رب العالمين.